Are you tired of static forms in your Angular applications? Do you want to create dynamic forms that adapt to user needs? Well, you are in right place. In this tutorial, we are diving deep into Angular 17 to show you how to dynamically add and remove form fields. I have been working with Angular for over a decade and I have seen how it has evolved over time. Today, I will be sharing the latest techniques with you backed by real-world examples. Dynamic forms are fundamental part of modern web applications. Unlike static forms, which have a fixed set of input fields, dynamic forms allow you to adapt your user interface based on user needs and interaction. They can improve the user experience by presenting only relevant fields, reducing clutter, and making your application more user-friendly. Imagine a scenario where you need to create a user registration form. With dynamic forms, you can let users add or remove input fields as needed, accommodating various information they may want to provide. This flexibility not only enhances the user experience but also streamlines the development process, making it easier to maintain and scale your application. Now let's talk about Angular 17. Angular is robust and widely used JavaScript framework for building dynamic web application. Angular 17 is the latest iteration packed with powerful features and improvements. It's developer friendly, offers enhanced performance, and comes with vibrant ecosystem of libraries and tools. In this tutorial, we will be using Angular 17 to harness the full potential of dynamic forms. Whether you are a seasoned Angular developer or just getting started, you will find this tutorial invaluable as we explore the latest techniques together. To put things into context, let's consider a common use case, a user registration form. Traditionally, you might have a static form with fixed fields like name, email, and password. But what if you want to allow users to provide additional information like their address, phone number, or even custom fields relevant to your application? With dynamic forms in Angular 17, you can create a user registration form that adapts to user needs. They can add more fields if required, and you can effortlessly handle these dynamic changes in your application. Next, we will dive into the practical aspects of setting up and implementing dynamic forms in Angular 17, taking this user registration forms as an example. So buckle up and let's get started with building dynamic forms that truly empower your web application. Now we are diving into the world of dynamic forms in Angular 17, and first step is to setting up your Angular project. We will use the Angular CLI, that is also called command line interface, to make this process easy and efficient. First, make sure you have Node.js and npm installed on your machine. If you haven't already, you can download and install them from official Node.js website. You can also follow one of my videos I have already uploaded on my YouTube channel. Now let's create a new Angular 17 project. Open your terminal and command prompt and run this command: npm install-g at angular/cli. This command installs the Angular CLI globally on your system, allowing you to use it from any directory. I already have installed this CLI, so I will not run it, but you can press enter and follow along. Next, you need to create a new Angular project by running this command: ng new dynamic forms app. You can give it whatever name you prefer. I also have created my Angular project, so I will not run it, but you can press enter and follow the instructions that you will see. Because the CLI will ask you some questions about the project configuration, feel free to customize these options based on your requirements. Once the project is generated, navigate to your project directory using the cd command and the project name dynamic-forms-app. Angular projects have a well-organized structure that makes development easier to manage. So let's take a quick look at the key folders and files. So first we have a source directory. This folder contains your application source code, including component, services, and assets. Then we have the app folder. Inside this folder, you will find the main application code. This is where you will create components, templates, and manage your application's logic. Then in the source directory, we have the index.html. This is the main HTML file where your Angular application is bootstrapped. Then we have the main.ts file. This file is the entry point of your application. It initializes Angular and starts the application. I am using the latest version of Angular 17 and I'm using standalone components. So in my case, I don't have any app module. I directly have just app component and I can import module directly in this component. Then we have the angular.json file. This file contains project configuration settings. You can specify various build options and dependencies here. And then we have the package.json file. This file lists the packages and dependencies required for your project. It also includes the scripts for running tasks like starting the development server. Maintaining an up-to-date development environment is crucial to ensure you have access to the latest features, bug fixes, and security updates. Regularly check for updates to Node.js, NPM, and Angular CLI. You can use these commands to do these things. So for example, for Angular CLI, just run the command npm install -g at angular/CLI at latest. I have recorded tutorials on my YouTube channel that you can follow to upgrade your Node.js or Angular CLI version. By keeping your environment up to date, you will have a smoother development experiences and access to latest Angular 17 features. Next, we will start building our dynamic forms within this project. So make sure your Angular 17 project is set up correctly. So let's continue our journey into dynamic forms. Now that our Angular 17 project is set up, let's start creating our initial form template. This will serve as foundation for our dynamic forms. We will begin with the basic form containing a fixed number of input fields. So in your Angular project, open the source/app folder and inside it, you will find the app.component.html file. This is where you will create our form template. Let's go ahead and set up a simple user registration form with fixed fields for name, email, and password. So form label form div label plus input. Okay, so let me refactor it to make it look good. All right, in this label I will add for name, and in the input I will add id name, then name is equal to name, then I will add ng model and give it form data.name. Okay, so right now ng model will not work because we have to import the forms module. So as I'm using the standalone component, I can directly import the forms module in my app component. Okay, now I also have to define an object with the name form data. So but before that, let me copy paste the other fields, email, and then we need to have password, and then we need to add the submit button. Okay, let me remove this. We don't need this here. So let me quickly explain. In this HTML code, we have created a simple form element with these three input fields for name, email, and password. We have also used Angular's two-way data binding with ng model and bind these form fields to properties in our component class. So this form tag represents the HTML form. It encapsulates the input fields and defines the boundaries of our form. Then we have the label field. Labels are used to describe the purpose of each input field. They enhance the accessibility and improve the user experience. Then we have the input. These are the input fields where users can enter their data. We've specified different input types like text, email, and password to ensure proper data validation. Then we are using ng model, Angular's two-way data binding. It binds the input fields to properties in our component class, allowing us to easily capture and manipulate form data. To make this form functional, we need to handle the form data within our Angular component. In the corresponding app.component.ts file, create an object to store the form data and initialize it with the empty fields. So let's do that. Here I will add a component class property. Form data is equal to name empty, email empty, and password is also empty. Now our Angular component is ready to capture and manage the form data. So let me quickly display the JSON in the HTML to show you that it is being updated in real time. I am using the JSON pipe to display the JSON as it is. So now you can see that everything is working in real time. So we have created a basic form template with fixed fields, explained the HTML components involved, and demonstrated how to bind form data to your Angular application. Next, we will take a giant leap forward and explore how to dynamically add form fields to enhance the user experience. Now we are going to introduce Angular Forms modules, specifically the reactive forms module, which is essential for building dynamic forms. Angular provides a set of modules for handling forms, including template-driven forms and reactive forms. We will focus on reactive forms because they offer more flexibility and control, making them ideal for dynamic forms. To get started, make sure you imported the reactive forms module in your app module or in your relevant standalone component. So here I will replace the forms module with the reactive forms module. Okay, save it. This ensures that necessary form related functionality is available in your component. Now let's implement a button that allows users to add a new form fields dynamically. In our case, we will add additional email input fields when user clicks the add email button. It can be any other field, whatever you prefer. So this is just for example. So in the app component.html, it is throwing error because we have removed the forms module. So we will get rid of the ng model. That will fix it. So before moving forward, we have to convert the forms module to reactive form usage. So for that, in the ts file, I will remove it. Actually, I need to inject the form builder first. So you can inject the service in this way. You don't need to use constructor. You can just call the inject function and you will get it. Okay, now I will use this.fb.group and give it all of the fields like name, email, password, and then I will add additional emails, this.fb.array, and I will give it an empty array. So it will basically initialize an empty array in it by default. Okay, now let's connect it with our form to get rid of these errors. So first of all, in the form, I will add form group and give it the form data that we created. Okay, now I will connect it with this. So here I will add form control name and give it a name. Okay, make sure that this name, the form control name, matches with the property of this object that you added in the group for the form. Now I will do same for this. Here I will add form control name email and same for the password like this. And now at the end here I will add another div. Actually, let me copy paste it, I guess. No, first I will create a div and then I will pass the same kind of div in it. Okay, and here I need to add form array name and I will give it additional emails. So I need to define the getter for the additional emails so that we could access it in the HTML to use the for loop. So copy it in the TS. I will add the getter. Okay, and this will return all controls of this field from the form. Okay, and we will also give it a type as form array. Okay, now let's complete our HTML. So here I will move it in the for loop. So this is the latest way of using for loop. So here I have used the getter. I think I did not give it the correct name. Additional emails. So to fix that, I will use dot controls that will give it an array to iterate. Now I will also need the index. Also I will add a class additional index, additional email. So you may use it if you want to. By the way, I did not add any text in the label, so let me add them as well. Email and password, additional email. Okay, and now to every input I will add the index of the control. Okay, Further, after every input, I want to add a button to remove this email. Okay, so I have to define the remove email function and I'm passing the index to remove it. Now let's go back to the TS file and define this function. And in that function, I will call the remove at function on the additional emails and I will pass the index. It will remove it. Okay, and before the submit button, I will add another button to add email. So I need to define the add email button function as well. So let's define that. And this is how you will add an extra input or control. So in the additional emails, I'm pushing this.fp.control. So every time I will do that, it will add a control that would reflect there because of the for loop automatically. So here we have added a div with a form array name directive to manage our dynamic email fields. We use for to iterate over additional emails form array, creating input fields for each email. The remove button allows users to delete email fields if needed. Let me quickly explain things here in this file. So we import the necessary Angular form related modules like form builder, form array, and form group. We create a user form instead of form group. We create a user form instance of form group, defining the initial form structure. The additional emails field is initialized as an empty array. And then the get additional emails function returns the additional emails form array for easy access in template. Then we have the add email function method that pushes a new email input field control to the additional emails array when the add email button is clicked. Remove email. So this method removes the email input at the specified index when remove button is clicked. With these changes, you can now dynamically add, remove email input fields in your form. This is the first step towards creating dynamic forms in Angular 17. And next we will explore more advanced techniques to enhance our dynamic forms further. But before that, let's give it a little bit styling and test it. So here I will add input margin bottom 10 pixels, and actually let me design the form display flex, and gap should be 20 pixels I guess. And here I will add flex direction column. Okay, now I will design the div, and I will add display, actually keep it like that, but to every label I will add width of 100 pixels. Okay, now let's click on the add email button. You can see that we can add an additional email. Let me give the more width to it to 200 pixels I guess. Okay, so we can add as many emails as we want. Let me fix the style for this. So we have the additional email section. I will give it a class additional emails, and let's style it here display flex and gap 10. Let me add flex direction column. Okay, perfect. So we can now add multiple emails, and we are also able to remove the emails. And let me display the JSON in the, it is already being displayed. So we have to use form data dot value that will display the JSON as well. Let me put it at the end somewhere here, or maybe it is fine. Okay, so you can see that everything is being updated in the real time, and if right now it has additional emails to empty array, if I click on that, it will add an additional email, and here you can test one, you can add another one, and you can see that new emails are being added every time you click on that. 2 and 3. So you can see that new emails are added. So you can also remove any of these by clicking on the remove button. Now we are going to explore some advanced techniques that will take your dynamic forms to the next level. One advanced scenario you might encounter is the need for nested forms. Nested forms are used when you have a form within a form, or when you need to group related fields together. For example, imagine you are building a form for an online shopping cart where each item has its own set of attributes. These nested forms allow you to maintain a structured data model. To implement nested forms, you can create a form group within another form group. This allows you to group fields together logically. We will create a nested form in Angular 17, specifically a user profile form that includes personal information and address details. We will create a user profile form that includes both personal information and address details. The form will be structured using nested forms, making it more organized and easier to manage. So in your components HTML template, create the user profile form with nested form groups. So let's do that. I will remove everything from here and start from scratch. So here, first of all, I will give it new name, user profile form, and now I will add a section for personal information section, and then we will have the address section. So let's start from the personal information section. Here I will have a div with a div further, and then we will have a label plus input. Okay, so here in the label I will add name in the for attribute and provide text name, and then here I will add the ID, email, and form control name to actually ID name and form control name is equal to name. Okay, so now I will copy paste it for the email as well. Okay, now we will work on the address section. So this will look almost same, so I will copy paste this section, but before that I will add form group name here and give it the name of the form group personal info. Okay, now let's copy paste this below. So here I will add the name address to this form group, and here I will add street here as well, and here and here. Okay, and then we will have city and the type would be text here, but for the email the type would be email, and then we will have the zip code, and at the end we will have a submit button here. Now let's look at it in the browser. We have error that user profile does not add, so we have to create that obviously. So in this template we have organized the form into two sections, personal information and address. Each section is a form group and individual input fields are form controls within these groups. So in your component code, define and initialize the nested form groups using the form builder. So let's do that. Go back here. I'm going to delete everything again and start from scratch. Here I will use this user profile form and give it the form group and pass an object to it, and then I will have personal info is equal to this group. Similarly for the address, this dot. Okay, now let's add the fields in these form groups, name and email, and then here I will add street, city, and zip code. Okay, so here we have defined the user profile form as a form group, and within it we have created two nested form groups, personal info and address. So each nested group contains its own set of form controls. So let's quickly test it. Here I will add user profile. Okay, this is what we can see right now. We have to improve its styling to fix these problems. So here I can add a class sub nested FB, add same here as well, and now here I will add this nested FB, and I think move everything into it. Right now this is not required. Okay, here I will add display flex, and flex direction should be column and gap should be 10 pixels maybe. Okay, this is what we have right now. Okay, now you can see here in the JSON we have personal info, name, email, and everything in there. So if you type, you will see that every field would be tagged individually in their own relevant form groups. So by structuring your form using nested form groups, you can achieve better organization and maintainability, especially when dealing with complex data models. This approach also simplifies validation and data handling. Remember that this is just a basic example and in real-world application you might encounter more complex nested form scenarios. Angular's reactive forms and form builder service provide powerful tools to handle such cases. So we have already set up the nested form structure for the user profile form, including personal information and address sections. Now let's enhance it by allowing users to add multiple addresses dynamically. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go back to the app.component and we will make some modifications here. I will cut it and create another div and move it inside of that, and here I will add form group name, and here I will say addresses. Okay, now I will move this part of code in the for loop, and here I will add no need to add let address group of address groups dot controls let I track index. So this is the latest way. We will define these things shortly, but before that let us complete everything and make sure everything is fine here. So now on this div I need to replace the form group name with a dynamic name that will come from the index like we did before. Okay, and at the end of address we will add a button, add a remove address, and we will add a click event, remove address past the index in this way. Okay, and the type would be button. So here we added the for loop to iterate over the address groups for array, allowing users to input multiple addresses dynamically. We also have added the remove address button for each address group. Also, don't forget to add the button to add address. Okay, now let's update the component code to handle the dynamic addition and removal of the address groups. So let's move there. So in the address, instead of address I will remove it and make it addresses, and this .fb.array, and by default I will give it at least one address option. So make sure to have the same names that we have there: zip code, city and street, zip code, city and street. Okay, so I have given it a default address, so by default it will be showing one address there. Okay, now let's create the getter that is being used in the HTML. So this is the getter, and let me rename it to address groups. Okay, so here we are getting the addresses and converting it into the form array. Next I need to add the add address function. So this is the same thing that we did before. We are getting the address groups and pushing the form group into it, and then we need to add the remove address in the same way like we did before. Okay, now all of the errors have been gone from the HTML. Now we can test it. Okay, so let me add an heading before the address section. Here I can add addresses. Okay, let me make it a heading. Okay, so now you can see that actually here I want to add another heading for every address. So here I will add h2 address, and here I will add the number of address like index plus 1. Okay, so it is telling that this is the address number 1. So here you can see that in the JSON everything is visible: name Ayaz, email abc@gmail.com, and in the street ABC, city. You can see that everything is being updated in the real time in the JSON. So in the zip code, something there, add another address, and you can see that new address has been added, and you can keep adding more addresses and it will keep adding the object in the addresses array dynamically. So you can see that everything is being dragged individually, nothing is being mixed. So that's perfect. In conclusion, we have embarked on an exciting journey into the world of dynamic forms in Angular 17. So here are the key takeaways. First, dynamic forms are a crucial component of modern web applications. They offer flexibility, improved user experiences, and streamlined development process. Next, we have explored the power of Angular 17, the latest version of this robust framework, to create dynamic forms that adapt to user needs. Next, we worked on the nested forms and advanced techniques. We delved into advanced techniques and including nested forms, form builder, and handling complex use cases, showcasing the versatility of Angular for building dynamic forms. As someone with over a decade of experience working with Angular, I encourage you to apply what you have learned here to your own projects. Dynamic forms will elevate your web applications and keep you at the forefront of web development. If you found this tutorial valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to create more Angular tutorials and share our knowledge with you. Before we wrap up, remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Stay connected with us for more tutorials on Angular and other exciting web development topics. Connect with us on social media and visit our website for additional resources and updates. Check out our related videos and playlist for further learning and exploration. Thank you for watching and being part of our community. Keep learning, keep coding, and explore more content on our channel. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.